after teaching in a boarding school for 25 years, I ended up teaching at a Hawaiian charter school. And I literally became a born again pagan because they talked about the Hawaiian culture and how long it existed in the middle of the ocean, completely sustainable, and how they related to their environment. And it just blew my mind as a scientist that they were able to do all of this, but they used what we consider polytheism to do it. So there is some value in it. I mean, it got them through a lot. So now I'm going to talk about the definition of learning, two types of truth, the 7 laws of magical thinking, quantum entanglement, the bridge to Raul Valverde's new book, God Consciousness, Quantum Theory, and the Urantia book, and how that connects to what we're doing. I'll show you what I think is one of the most incredible websites, John Lilly's website on coincidence control. Then I'll summarize and review, and we'll do a closing chant. So here's the opening chant. It's called E Laka E. And this is the Lady Laka that the Hawaiians go into the forest to chant to when they're gathering flowers to make their leis. And this is the male version of Laka, who lives in the ocean, that the paddlers chant to. And so it goes like this. E Laka E, E Laka Ika Leo, E Laka Ika Loa. E laka ika vai vai, me kamahaloi. And basically you're saying, hey, Laka, I want to hear your voice, Leo. Hey, Laka, give me some wisdom. Loa is wisdom. Hey, Laka, when that wisdom comes, I'm going to let it soak me as if I'm standing in a pond underneath a waterfall. And then down here we say, thank you. So that's basically what we're going to do here. And what we're going to do is talk about truth, and we're going to watch a slideshow right now. And then we're going to talk about what Jesus thinks about subjective truth. And then we're going to talk about magical thinking. And then we're going to talk about why we should be suspicious of objective thinking. And then we're going to talk about quantum entanglement and how it can connect subjective and subjective truth. And then we're going to finish it all. Okay, so let's take a look at truth. So the search for truth, that's basically what we're in here, and finding truth. And let's talk about a pile of wood that was next to my house in Chile that was covered with the tarp that they use in between plywood and plaster. And a volcano came, and the ash fell down and melted the plastic off the top of the wood plant. This is called causation, and it's the first type of objective truth. It's truth that everybody can agree on. We all agree the hot rocks melted the plastic off the top of the roof. That's causation. The next one is called correlation, and correlation is a long repose time, usually means a more powerful eruption. That volcano that erupted near our house had gone past its regular eruption period by about 20 years. So when it erupted, it blew off for 30 days, and the whole place had to be evacuated. Correlation is also like people who eat too much sugar are going to get diabetes. People who smoke too many cigarettes are going to get lung cancer. People who drink too much alcohol are going to have liver disease. There's a correlation between something, and it's called objective truth, and everybody sort of agrees together of it. Now, when we get to subjective truth, we have coincidence. And this is a moth that appeared on the window of my home in Chile. It's a skylight in the bathroom. And we never saw it before. We've been living there for 15 years, or visiting for 15 years, and we've never seen it since. But it came the day before the volcano erupted. So there's this subjective truth that there's omens that will tell you and predict things that are going to happen. And there's no, other than us making that association, there's no real truth to it. Omens are like fictional. And then there's fabrication. And there's a legend that goes with the volcano that erupted in Chile that has to do with these two young people from different tribes getting married, and the two tribes had been fighting forever, and all of a sudden they decided that they were going to make peace with each other. Well, the deity inside the volcano does not like peace and harmony, and so it erupted and ruined their whole ceremony. And the only way they could stop it was to have the lady's heart cut out and give it to a condor that flew over the top of the volcano and dropped it into the volcano. And that's the myth in Chile about why volcanoes erupt. They're angry. And what it does for me, it goes right to page 51 in the Urantia book and says, look, the only way you can have faith is if you're challenged. Your faith is challenged. The only way you can have courage is if your courage is challenged. So this is fabrication is connected to page 51 in a way, especially with this deity inside the volcano who's angry because you're happy. And objective truth is collective. It relies on support from causation and correlation, and subjective truth is personal. It relies on support from coincidence and fabrication. So what are we going to do? Well, the problem here is Jesus, on page 1680, Jesus, Sabbath at Tiberias, he's very specific. The courses of the stars have nothing whatever to do with events of life, examination, internal organs, recently killed, can't tell you anything about the weather, spirits of dead do not come back to communicate, charms and relics are impotent to heal disease, casting lots, divination and sorcery, interpretation of dreams, spirits of good and evil, practice of enchanters. And he just rips. And that's the one that caused me to go, wow, here I am in this Hawaiian culture school, and all this stuff. It really was what helped the Hawaiians survive for hundreds of years all alone in the middle of they had all these deities everywhere that they were worshiping. What's going on here? Why can't this, why am I seeing Jesus so hard on a magical thinking? So let's take a look at magical thinking and see what that's all about. Here they are. The first law is objects have essences. And there probably isn't but anybody here that doesn't have something in their house or their jewelry box that has some really, really special meaning and importance. So that's the first law. And we all have that in common, and everybody does it. The symbols have power. The one that's behind my head right now, to me, is one of the most powerful symbols on the planet. I view it's eternal, universal, and infinite, everywhere, forever, and without limit. And when I did use it to teach in school, the outer circle was what I was trying to teach the kids. The in between circle was the kids' development of self, and the middle target circle was the community. And their job was to take the content, use their self to show how it was going to be important for them and the community. And so to me, the community is the target. So that, for me, the Urantia symbol is an incredible, powerful symbol. And so that's magical thinking. Because it works for me, maybe it doesn't work for anybody else. Here's the one that's happening right now. Actions have different consequences. This is the butterfly effect. And the idea is that a butterfly flapping its wings in the Amazon can have an influence on the environment. Personal idea I have is that if I go to the counter at the local food market and I'm mean to the teller and she goes home hating her job and she takes it out on her kids, that has a ripple effect. My actions had a ripple effect, and that local action can make things worse for everybody. And by the same thing, if you do something nice to her, then she goes home and she feels good about her family, and that ripples. And so I used to tell the kids that the Hawaiian Islands are the Pico, and Pico means belly button of the planet, and that we are basically doing things in Hawaii that are having a ripple effect. The feeling of aloha has a ripple effect on the rest of the planet, and the more we indulge in this aloha spirit, the more it ripples. It can ripple through the rest of the planet. So little incidental things that we do to treat each other nice seem like they're just, incidental, but they actually have a distant consequences. Then there's the next one, which is the fourth law. And this is the one where quantum theory comes in. Everything is connected. Everything is connected. And that's, to me, this is Alex Gray. I don't know if you've seen his book, Sacred Mirrors, but he basically says it's all connected. And Ralph Valverde talks about it in his book. Everything is connected. We're all connected to each other right now. The fifth law is the soul lives on. And this one is very important because this is really what, that's what we're doing here is we're basically training our soul. Every decision we make, truth, beauty, and goodness during the day is helping our soul for the next level. And so this is considered magical thinking. But in the Urantia book, it's not magical thinking. It's what's going to happen. And the soul lives on. And that's considered magical thinking. And then the Urantia book says, no, for sure, it's not. And then sixth law is the world is alive, which means that basically even rocks have lifespans. They're longer than ours, but they are alive. And then finally, the seventh law is everything happens for a reason. And I used to tell the kids, you have choice. You're going to have free will once you graduate, but then there's destiny. And you can make as many choices as you want about which way you want to go. But there's a path that you're going to be led on, and you've got to follow what it's leading you. You're going to have to accept the consequences, even though it's maybe not the road you want to take. Everything happens for a reason. Okay, so let's go on to the next thing. And now we talk about the benefits of magical thinking. They can provide a sense of control. They're hardwired into our brain. It's not just superstition. And can offer secular spirituality, challenge the notion that rationality is always superior. And here is the guy that we can use as the guy who really represents the law of unintended consequence. This was the famous scientist, Thomas Midgley. He's the one who originally put lead in gas because it kept the engines from knocking. And everybody loved it. Their engines didn't make a noise anymore, but the exhaust put lead into the environment, especially in cow pastures, and everybody ended up with lead in their milk. So he invented that thinking he was doing something good. It was scientific. It made sense. It solved the problem, and it had unintended consequences. And then he went on and he invented Freon. the refrigerant that they were using originally before him was full of sulfur. And if your pipes broke, it just contaminated your whole house. So he invented Freon, and Freon was a spectacular invention, except that if it leaked, it went up into the atmosphere to the ozone hole and put a giant hole in the ozone hole. And it originally started in the southern hemisphere, and they started seeing all these mutations in their sheep, genetic mutations. And once they stopped using Freon, it stopped it patched the ozone hole, because the ozone hole protects us from a level of UV radiation that's very dangerous. So even though this guy was hailed as a genius, he'd done these two things that he thought he was solving a problem with objective truth, and they turned out to be bad. And I used to teach the kids that about science is you have to be a little bit suspicious of science sometimes, because there are unintended consequences. And the final thing that happened immediately is he was disabled in his older years, and he invented a pulley to help himself pull himself out of bed without needing assistance. And he ended up hanging himself with it. And that's how he died. So that's Menschli's represents the law of unintended consequences. And everybody thinks objective thinking is really the correct way to think, and it's scientific, but there are flaws in it, and unintended consequences is one of them. Okay, so instead of thinking as simply wrong, frame them as a evolution, as a natural, though primitive stage of human consciousness. And that's when we get to quantum entanglement. And quantum entanglement is a new theory that's objective truth that can explain why everything's connected. And the example for quantum entanglement, if you've ever heard of it, is imagine that you were trying to communicate with somebody who is on a planet that's 4 light years away. And so we invent this tube that we can submit a blinking light signal through the tube, and the blinking light is sort of like a telegraph, and they can get the signal, and we can communicate them through this blinking light symbol, this tube that's allowing this light to travel through it. And the problem is that light takes 4 years to get there, because it's 4 light years away. And so we have a lag in communicating with this planet. But if the person who's holding onto the tube at the other end holds onto it, and we turn the tube, at the same time we turn it, he feels it. So it's instantaneous. And what this does, it instantaneously connects everybody, and it sort of makes time and space irrelevant. And this is what the light tube planet near a star, this spooky as at a distance as light, as Einstein calls it, is how a thought adjuster can be a fragment of God, and that adjuster is entangled with you, a God. And prayer isn't magic, but rather environment with a pre-existing spiritual circuit, which is connected instantaneously with this thing within you. And the supreme being is growing, and it's built upon the internet connected experience of all living creatures. And so the Urantia book is a quantum physics textbook. And when we go to this, we get to this guy who is, to me, really unbelievable. He's written this book, Raul Valverde. I don't know how many people know about him, but he has a PhD in psychology. He's an ordained minister, and he's written this book called God, Consciousness, Quantum Theory, and the Urantia book. And what he does is he figures out how to make subjective and objective reality work together. So magical thinking says, I will pray to get this specific job. So we're trying to influence the outcome directly. And then the way to combine it so that we use this inner thought adjuster, I will pray for guidance to find the work that best serves my purpose, and then actively search. I changed that. I don't know why. And prepare. Okay, then that this ritual object will protect me from harm. That's a belief in external power. I will trust in the Father's care while also using the intelligence he gave me to make wise and safe decisions. And then the next one, if I believe hard enough, reality will bend to my will. My faith helps align my will with God's will, revealing the path through reality. So this is how we can get the subjective and objective truth connected. And then the next thing I want to show you is, to me, one of the incredible websites that I've ever seen. If you wish to control coincidence in your own life, we will cooperate and determine those coincidences for you under the following conditions. You must assume our existence in the Earth Coincidence Control Office, which John Lilly is referring to. John Lilly, I don't know if you know him, he talked to dolphins and he invented the isolation tank. And his ECCO really, to me, is the thought adjuster. That's the coincidence. You must be willing to accept our responsibility for control of your coincidence. You must exert your best capabilities for your survival programs. You're expected to use your best intelligence. You're expected to expect the unexpected every minute, every hour of the day. And for me, what he does is he drags you into the present, that really the present is where you should be every moment, trying to figure out ways that you can help nurture your soul. What can you do? You must be able to maintain conscious reasoning. Some of these events will seem cataclysmic. Remember, stay aware no matter what happens, apparently to you. You're in training program for life. There's no escape from it. Your major mission is to discover that which we do to control the long-term coincidence patterns. You'll be trained on Earth to do this job. When your mission on planet Earth is completed, you will no longer be required to remain or return there. Cosmic love is absolutely ruthless and highly indifferent. It teaches its lessons whether you dislike them or not. And so what I've tried to do here is I have introduced you to, well, we're going to finish with a chant. And this one I sing to the falcons that live outside my house when I go feed them in the yard every day. And it goes like this. E ho mai kai ke mai luna mai o na mea huna noia o na mele e ho mai oh my. And it says, give forth knowledge from above, every little bit of wisdom contained in some way. Give forth, oh, give forth. This was done by Edith Kanakaole, who was one of the kupuna, who pretty much was the basis of the Hawaiian recultural program. After they bombed Kaho'olawe, a bunch of Hawaiians went over there and paddled over to the island to try and prevent them from bombing it anymore. And they used a lot of Edith's chants to try to get them to try and reinstill the Hawaiian culture and make it more prevalent in Hawaiian society.
Well, thank you, Matt. That was very interesting, and I'm sure it provoked a lot of thoughts and questions. Anybody have comments or questions for Matt? If you could raise your electronic hand, that would be great. Josh?
I have a question on how you address one of the paradoxes, I would say, of the Urantia book. Whenever you go to share it with someone, the first question everyone asks is what? Who wrote it? And then you say it was channeled. And then Christian people say that's witchcraft, sorcery. And then you're like, well, it's different. You shouldn't do it, but they did it to get it. And then you're stuck in this, you're right, and you discredit yourself. So it's always like a problem I have when you go to share it with anyone. They say it's either demonic or new age. And you're like, how do you know, address
Well,
it?
my wife has some really good. I've been married to her for 40, 42 years now, and there's never been a time when we ran to a stranger when she didn't try to mention the book. And she's going to tell you right now her answer to this question, Josh, because she can answer it way better than I can. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Mary.
Well, first of all, the word channeling is offensive and it's not true. The Urantia book was never channeled. It was transmitted. And that in our society, the word transmitted is more acceptable than channeling because it didn't go through the human brain of the sleeping subject. So I would definitely get rid of that word if you tell people it was channeled. First of all, I say it's not for everyone. And I think people want to be, you know, they want to be one of those people. So you say, oh, it's not for everyone, but it might interest you. And it's a history book. I tell people it's a history book. And it's a history of everything, and it answers every question you ever had about anything. And and then if they really get interested, then you can get into a little more into the details. But the book is going to find the people,
Yeah.
and probably uh, three-fourths of those people are not going to be interested. But there's going to be that one quarter, if we're lucky, and just knowing that there is a new truth and that the planet has been given new truths at different points.
Thanks,
Sometimes.
Josh, and thanks, Marion. Just real quick before I go to Jeff, Marion, when you say I really like that use of the word transmitted. Do you say who's transmitting, or what do you say if they say,
Yeah.
who's
That's
what word do you use to
it
describe
normally.
the transmitters?
I use the word higher beings.
Okay, that's nice. That's nice. I was just
I
curious.
like I
Yeah.
like higher beings, and then I
Mhm.
might say, uh, "Do you think that we're the only inhabited planet?" You know,
Right. Right. Right.
people to kind of think about this vast universe and
Right. Well, it's interesting. Is it transmitted higher beings? Those are both very vanilla. It's not going to get anybody less likely to get people upset, right? You say
right.
angel, you say God, you say spirit, you say channeling, you say things, and all those words have baggage for people. Okay. Thank you
Thank
both.
you.
Let me go to Jeff next.
Yeah, no, what I would say if someone asked me where the book comes from, I'd say it's a philosophical text which sort of takes it away from the sort of sacrosanctness by multiple authors who claim to be spiritual beings or higher beings. You know what I mean? So it takes the edge off it, and then try to immediately go into there's a lot of cosmogony, science, physics that wasn't known when it was written that has since proved to be valid. That got my attention. You should give it a read. You know what I mean? So
Good.
Yes. Interesting. Good.
that's
And true. So it's got 2 points there.
to get
No,
back to
no,
Matt's
go ahead. Go ahead.
presentation. I would ask Matt to differentiate for me fact from truth.
Truth, there's two kinds of truth. Fact is like when the ash falls on the plastic, it melted it. That's a fact. Nobody can argue about the fact that that's what caused the plastic to melt. That's what everybody agrees on. It's universal agreement in something that happened. A lot of people say gravity. You know, if everybody jumps off this building, they're all going to go straight down. Supposedly they have some people that have figured that out, not to do that without anything. But right now, if we all jump off the same building, we're all going to fall straight down. And that's a fact. Now, the truth can be personal. What can be true for me might not necessarily be true for you. And like when you're trying to spread the book, the Urantia book to me is the truest book ever written. Subjectively to me, it's an incredible book. It's the most beautiful thing that I've ever had any experience with. And I've devoted my life to try and figure out how can I incorporate what this book is saying into my life. That's not true for a Hindu or an atheist or Greg Gutfield, the agnostic atheist or whatever. You know, it's not true for them. So truth is relative.
So would you say this magical thinking applies to both fact and truth, or only to fact, or only to truth?
Well, Valverde shows that, especially the one called Everything is Connected, he shows how that idea, which is magical thinking, used to be, is not anymore. It's actually a fact that we are all of our atoms are connected with all the other atoms in the whole universe. And that is quantum entanglement has objective database proof that that exists. So it's in that case, the everything connected is whether people like it or not, we're all connected, and it's true for everybody, just like gravity. And when he talks about how time and space is really an illusion, once you get this understanding that everything is connected, it's literally it's mind-blowing.
The Urantia book says we're only connected through the whole, so we're not directly connected. So I have a small problem with that, the direct connection piece of it. But it is indeed, we are all connected through the one. So that's good stuff. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I thought you were going to maybe say the opposite, Jeff, because I don't know that. I mean, fact and truth, when we're talking about, you know, material things, there's maybe not as much apparent difference. As soon as you start talking about, like you said, Matt, this, you know, the more subjective experience, it's kind of true for that person. And I mean, it's a fact that someone is, you know, feels better when they have their necklace on, right? They think that there's power, and it's a fact that that's helpful to them. And that may, you know, so that's true sort of from looking there inside in. Is it true in the sense, is it really going to stop the bullet? Probably not, right? So these terms are very contextual, and I think that's it's just, yeah, I'm glad that you're making us think about them, because they're easy to get messed up, or easy to talk about them in a way that, you know, we're not careful, right?
One quick story related to that is my dad was invading Tarawa, and he had a radio pack on. And at the same time, his mom was praying for him to stay alive. And there's a lot of people who died attacking Camp Tarawa. And a bullet came, and when he got on shore, he found out that the radio pack on his back stopped the bullet. And it happened to be simultaneously with when his mom was praying for him to stay alive. So, you know, that kind of stuff is spooky. It really is.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and all those are facts, right? Everything you just said is a fact. And now we line them up, and now there's a meaning that gets put on top. That's the interesting part, right? But let me move along. David, I think you were next.
One thought came to me about an example, like a case study that's related to what you were talking about, was when Jesus was having a talk with his mother at a particular wedding, and he had a desirous thought, and that led to the creation of some, you know, really good wine. There was a connection there, a thought, and then something happened. That's all I really wanted to say. Maybe you could comment.
Yeah, he knew he had powers, but he didn't want to. He didn't want to become the kind of person who was seen
Well,
as some
yeah, he
kind of.
had creator, abilities
Yeah,
as a Michael son of God that
yeah,
he put aside for his bestowal.
yeah,
And occasionally, even the books, when he made the fish and the bread to feed the 5,000, they refer to him as Michael in that particular paragraph. That shocked me. I just saw that. And I said, whoa, why are they calling him Michael?
yeah.
But anyway, that's how a thought can
Nice.
actually do action.
Yeah,
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 yeah, that's super interesting. Right. I mean, actually it says, I mean, he was surprised when that happened, right? But that I was always impressed. The book actually goes to great pains to say, well, yeah, it's miraculous. We don't know, to the normal person, it looks like magic, but here's how it actually took place. And if you know everything, and if you know who he was and what was going on, then actually describes the physical process that went through. It wasn't just. It's like saying, oh, this guy came and started a fire by use of his magic tool, his lighter. Well, we wouldn't say that. We'd say no. He has a lighter. It's got a little bit of fuel in it, and it rubs this, and then we start the fire. That's what he did. It's just something that we have no familiarity with,
They usually
but that he
describe
was
it as
able to
like
do.
merely accelerating time or
Right.
suspending time.
He had to go apart by himself and realize that he had to watch what he wished for.
Robert, you're next.
I'm interested in the yes, the magic becoming a reality. It's something starts off with magic and then it has magic, and then as you learn more about it, either scientifically or by direct revelation through the Urantia book, it becomes truth rather than magic. And you were speaking also about the stones being alive, the rocks being alive. I've as a geologist, that kind of thing interests me, and maybe I'll have a bit more to say in the discussion time later about that.
near our house, halfway to town, is what's called Mauna Ua, and it's this gigantic rock. Only the Hawaiians who live here know that it's there, but it's gigantic. It's hidden by trees. And when I was in the school, the Hawaiians took me there, and Ua means rain. And when there's a drought, you go there and you offer it flowers and offerings to try and coax Mother Earth into bringing some rain. So it's the rock that supposedly had this power to provide rain to the community.
Thanks, Robert. Thanks, Matt. Marion.
Thanks, Matt.
Well, one quick thing about everything being connected. In the automaton, the nucleus of the automaton is paradise. And so all the atoms, and just on a purely material level, we are all connected that way. And I think that the wonderful part about all of us being readers of the fifth epoch of Revelation is that we're all intellectually and emotionally, in a sense, connected to this marvelous text. And we have this affinity for each other that I'm very grateful for.
Yeah, thanks. Right. We're all made of the same stuff. And even, modern science is that view too. We're all just, different levels of energy, right? And it manifests in various ways. We got to be, I think we need to be careful with the word life, because that also has another very specific meaning, right? When we're talking about, intelligent, what we normally consider life. But the point is the same. Joanne.
Matt, when you said that time and space are an illusion, I immediately looked at Jeff, because Jeff, you taught that course. I hear this all the time from my New Age friends. So are time and space an illusion?
Yeah, according to the latest quantum things that Rawl discusses in his book, and is actually he shows how it's referred to in the Urantia book, that time and space are things that can be transcended, and we can connect with things that are billions of years away, and billions of miles.
You can just because you can transcend something doesn't mean it's not real.
It's real in the sense that we think that there is a past and we think that there is a future, but basically, really, all there really is this moment. According to the new quantum theory, is that the moment is the only real part of existence, is what's happening right now.
So Jeff, what say you?
Time is only a perception. The thing that is real is motion. And if you think about just this Zoom, you're seeing me just a few microseconds ago. And even if you're in the same room as a person, the photons that left that person get processed through your eyes and put into your brain are several milliseconds old. So you're not even dealing with the now as now, you're dealing with the now as a few milliseconds old. And in the new thinking, the now is the same for everyone. The limitation is not so much the speed of light as the speed of information. So you can never measure anything faster than the speed of light, because that's the fastest you can transmit the information from one photon that pops up to another photon that pops up. So it's the information transition time that seems to be the limitation of the speed of light. The way of thinking about this concept is think of corpuscular time. In other words, just like there's a Planck's constant as the smallest corpuscular matter, the smallest measurable length. Similarly, there's a corpuscular time, the smallest measurable length of time. Now, the Urantia book talks about subliminal speeds. The certain angels could go 3 times the speed of light. Other ones can go, more times than that. And you'd say, well, how do you do that? If you think of paradise as this center, and extremely high frequencies, the vacuum field energy as our perception threshold, they can just step between the corpuscles of time into that vacuum energy zone and pop out in some other time phase, or basically the same thing, just move faster, because you can go, instead of stepping on each corpuscle of time, you can step in between them. Marion mentioned the ultimaton has paradise as its at its center. The only way that can be true is if all matter is around that central paradise. And I think the reason the revelators talk about up and down, sort of other upper paradise and lower paradise, is because they're out on the circle. They see it as up, down, or in, out. But anyway, if you think of corpuscular time, you can step between the corpuscles and supersede time. Our observation is strictly the information is limited by the speed of light. So the only thing that's real is the motion. We used to measure it by pendulums, then it became crystal vibrations, now it's atomic clocks. We're just breaking it into smaller and smaller pieces, corpuscles.
Now, is everything you just said, Jeff, that's true in the grand universe, but not, or in the super universes, but not on Paradise, right?
Paradise is outside of time. So
right.
If you think about Paradise, if you think of Paradise as extremely high frequency, essentially not moving at all, and you think of lower and lower frequencies coming out to the vacuum threshold, then from there it starts at the cosmic ray, gamma ray, X-ray, visible light, matter as lower and lower frequencies out from the paradise stationary aisle. We just
Yeah.
operate at one of the spheres out from that
Right.
perspective.
So we have time, we have motion. That doesn't mean how we experience it is it's true, but it's not universal with a capital U.
No, it depends on where you are in towards the center as
Right.
to how you perceive time.
Thanks. Lisa, you've had your hand up for a while, sorry.
I'm very new to Urantia book. I've only read a small part of it. But earlier when you spoke of truth, sounded like truth as relative, but what I'm wondering is, does the Urantia book speak of a universal truth?
Their whole premise is truth, beauty, and goodness, and the search for truth as being
Is universal.
there is a universal truth that we all are trying to connect to, and
Yeah.
that really is the cornerstone of the book, and that you can see the three circles: eternal, forever, and without limit, truth, beauty, and goodness.
I'm glad to hear that, because I found that I've always had interest in other tradition, not just Christianity. And what I found in other tradition and Christianity, there's a universal truth that is in all of them. You know, when I'm studying Vedanta and I go, oh, that's what Jesus was talking about. Like, there's just so many similarities. The deeper you go to the truth, because they're all trying to communicate a truth, the universal truth.
For me, the important thing is, if somebody's very passionate about their spirituality, whether it's Judaism or Hinduism or Buddhism, I appreciate the person's passion, and I'm not going to try and tell them that anything that they're doing is wrong.
No.
And if they really feel good about it and it feels good to them, for me, I'm not going to tell them, hey, your Urantia book thinks what you're doing is dumb. I never do that. I always respect, especially people who have a really passionate spirituality. Those are the people that I say, okay, man, go for it. Stay where you are.
Everybody has a unique path too.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you. It's been very enjoyable.
Well, thank you very much, Lisa, and we're all very excited and that you have recently found the book and are exploring
that book is long.
jumping right in the deep end here with this conversation.
That's it. Yeah.
But yeah, I think what you said about time and space being relative is exactly consistent with what the book says, and we can translate. Even the book even says that our minds are able to transcend it. Even right now, we can remember things. We can look forward in time. Your mind is not really bound to what your eyes are seeing right in front of you, right? So that's just a little glimpse. But the book also, and there is definitely absolute truth, but then the book also gives us a perspective that no revelations short of the absolute universal Father of God is going to be complete. You're not going to get that 100.00000% truth for a long time, but it is definitely there. So thank you very much. Jan, you want to go ahead?
My question is about reflectivity, because quantum entanglement means that basically a reaction of another part of the particle is instantaneous. And what I read Majeston and his services, they can read instantly at every part of universe. That means it should be more than just a reflection or light speed. We read that some of the seraphims, they travel faster than light. That means cosmos it's still unclear to us. We know what we get the information for our knowledge now, but I think it's much more, and we will hear about this, or next generations will hear about this.
Well, the tube for me works because the light's going through the tube. It takes 4 years to get to that planet, but the guy holding onto the tube at the other end, when I twist the tube, he feels it instantly. And that's the metaphor for quantum entanglement, that you don't need the light traveling to send the message. You can send the message instantly by twisting the tube, and that basically is the thing that really makes quantum entanglement work for me. That instantaneous communication can happen like that.
There is another part of it, because in the story about Adam and Eve, they say that the children of Adam and Eve, they have a telepathy about 80 kilometers, and our brain have possibility of this, and knowing some of the telepathic work, like trying to connect between surface of the earth and, let's say, a kilometer down for the submarines, the telepathy works. The any other signals doesn't work. That means there is some kind of energy which we don't know yet about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think thanks, John. I think it's a good question. Is that I like Matt's metaphor, because I think it's a good way to explain it. Is it actually quantum mechanics as we understand it that's doing that in the case of reflectivity, or is it just something on the order of or like quantum mechanics? That's what we don't really know, right? But it proves, at least quantum mechanics proves, that there is more, that not everything has to be connected, nuts and bolts to the next thing, right? Rick, let's hear from you.
The thing I would add is that the Urantia book makes a big thing about how truth is living, and as soon as you try to pin it down and set it in place, it doesn't become that anymore. So I think for Lisa's benefit especially, it's a good thing to keep in mind.
Yeah, thanks, Rick. That is a good reminder. I mean, and our whole, the Supreme, we are evolving. Our whole job is to move that forward, right? And to its fulfillment. So yeah, our view of it is going to be constantly changing, even though it's toward maybe the same goal. Terry, let me grab you, and then I'll go back to the folks who have already spoken.
Thank you. I can't recall the actual book, but years ago, I was very immersed in the Gnostic Gospels that have been printed by and interpreted. And there was one particular scene that was described where Jesus was with his inner circle. We assume that's his apostles. And he was asking them to take their mind up higher and higher and higher. And I could almost imagine him trying to, and perhaps he was emanating some of his supermortal energy to elevate their minds to higher and higher levels of the potential that the mind has, for him to be able to continue to deepen his teachings of these higher spiritual levels. And I remember when I read that, it was years ago, it was like, whoa, it sounded all new agey and this and that. And based on my subsequent reading and the Urantia book and this conversation today, it's making me think if that actually did occur, and it just fortunately got recorded in a Gnostic gospel, that maybe Jesus fully understood exactly what he was doing, was using these energy levels to take the apostles' minds up and to transcend not only time and space, but universe levels of reality, so that he could imbue them with these higher teachings that then they could perhaps bring down to levels that they could share. Thank you.
Interesting. Thanks. Yeah, no, that is a very interesting reference. Josh?
Oh yeah, I just want a quick comment on what Joanne was saying. We get called what? The children of time, right? Many times in the book, they use that phrase. So I agree too. I think time is real, but it seems like we found another paradox in the book, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's real. It's just not the whole story. That's, it's like when people say everything is one. Everything is God. We're all one. There's no, well, yes, in the most philosophical, abstract sense, that is true. The book is very clear about that. But okay, now what? As soon as you get into the story of the universe or even our lives, you've got to start, doing the other. It's nice to have that perspective as an anchor, but that, you quickly have to move beyond that if you're going to do anything, right? Go ahead, Susan.
I want to just jump over to what Josh said. Yes, Josh, 35 references in the Urantia book, Children of Time. And it's a wonderful study to see what do they mean when they call us and the gift that it is to be a child of time as a child of God. So I wanted to note that. Back over to Lee's. If you look at the definition of truth, sometimes when you just search the word truth in the Urantia book, I don't know, there must be maybe 1,000. I don't know that exact number. But if you look at the ones mentioned in the foreword, which can be foreboding to read the foreword, but if you just go in looking for a particular word, where often they give us the definitions, the Urantia book definitions of those words. So maybe just dabbling in the foreword about truth would be fun and insightful. And then Matt, you started all this. God bless and thank you so much. And I'm in that club that gets I don't get chicken skin. I never used that word before, but God bumps or whatever we call them, the shivers when you chant. I remember you doing that in Baltimore, and it was just delightful. So thank you for today, and thank you for all you do, and to all of you here. Thank you.
Thanks, Susan. Thanks for those comments and that feedback for everyone. Yeah, that Children of Time thing. I mean, that's going to be our job in the next age. We have to explain time to the people that have missed out on it. That's our unique thing that we get to. We go up and we explain it to the citizens of Paradise what it's like. So I guess it's a good thing we're starting to work on it now. Jeff, and then we'll probably be at time up. But go ahead.
Yeah, we're definitely people of time. And that time is motion. You can see that's all aging with time. Anyway, I'd like to speak briefly to two concepts that came up earlier: reflectivity. If you think about energy can neither be created nor destroyed, so think of it as a field. If a photon pops up here and you push it down, it has to pop up someplace else. So that's reflectivity, and the angels may be looking at it over here, whereas we're manipulating it over here. So energy is a field. The reason it's, probability is because you don't quite know where it's going to pop up. But in a spherical, if you think spherically, it pops up on the opposite side of the sphere. So if you think of the paradisical ultimaton as the paradisical center, it makes sense that way. There's a Poincare sphere, which you can visualize those entangled photons. And always they're entangled, but they are sort of equal and opposite. The other one I'd like to talk to is the Adam and Eve remote communication. We had the ability at that age to see in the ultraviolet, and you could communicate ultravioletly, or Adam and Eve probably could communicate ultravioletly. We can still see ultraviolet. The rods and cones of the eye can see ultraviolet. But there's a fluid in the eye now that protects us from harmful ultraviolet rays. So conceivably, they could have communicated over a distance using the UV light. It is also interesting about UV because that's in every microtubule in our body. That's probably why Adam and Eve had a violet hue. It's probably why they call them the violet race, because their microtubules will be predominant. That's our communication, cell-to-cell communication mechanism in the bioluminescent mechanism. So,
thank you, Jeff. Just really quickly, Jan.
Two things. One, Einstein said E equal m times square of speed of light. If you change this, then the matter, its energy, slow down by the speed of light to square. That means we are on slower matter and slower motion. That's one. And The second one, I forgot. Thanks.
Okay, Mary, thank you. Marion, last word quickly.
Okay, just quickly, Jeff, I believe as I recall, the Urantia book said they communicated through their sinuses.
Yeah, they had some little pressure tube in their heads, right?
Yeah.
Thank you again so much to Matt, and with able assistance from Marion. It's a great topic, a great way to explore and have new ways to think about these things.